Alright, so what is a mirror poem? According to Google, mirror poems are basically synonymous with palindrome poems, or poems which can be read the same forward and backwards. Of course, there are many kinds of palindrome poems. Some can be reversed line by line, others word by word, and some down to the very letter. When I say mirror poem, however, I mean a palindrome poem that looks like this one. Mirror by Rita Dove, a poem that is basically a 2-for-1. Two poems seemingly reflected off the center of the page, creating a beautiful symmetry that miraculously makes sense no matter which side you read. Rita Dove, by the way, is a former poet laureate of the United States, the second African American to win the Pulitzer Prize in Poetry, and as of last year, 2021, received the American Academy of Arts and Letters Gold Medal. So yeah, this is the work of a highly accomplished poet, and it can be read in the June 2020 issue of Poetry Magazine or off the Poetry Foundation's Instagram page, which I'll link in the description. Alright, and now for my own poem. So, I started writing this thing in a bar, and it shows. It was still not quite done when I sat down at my desk to write it out longhand, but at least it was a start. A poem like this is best done by hand, by the way. You'll be toying with words so often that you'll need to see your former mistakes in ink to remind yourself what not to write next. I decided to call it Echo, and kick off the first line with Echo as well. I thought this would serve the poem aesthetically and thematically, and reading the top line left to right even sounds like an echo to the inner ear. I liked "Do you hear that?" to round off the first stanza, because the question it forms is nicely reversed into a declarative on the other side of the page. The second stanza took me a bit longer to figure out, and here is where the constraints of this particular form made things tricky, necessitating the use of a comma or some other punctuation to make one side work grammatically where otherwise it would fall apart. Not that grammar is the most important thing in a poem like this, but you want it to make some sense. And stanza 3? Naturally, I spent the most time puzzling through the poem's conclusion. I was so bent out of shape solving this little word puzzle that I wrote unmistakingly instead of unmistakably. You know, by mistake. After mulling it over a while, I went back and crossed out the last 2 lines and replaced them with something a little more alliterative. After I typed out the poem and used Canva to format it nicely, I changed the punctuation around a bit and replaced myself with yourself in the 3rd stanza, and even though stanza 3 still feels a bit wonky to me, it's what I like to call good enough. Alright, so here's the finished poem. Echo. Now, this isn't a traditional poem, so there's no traditional way to read it. So I'm just going to read the left-hand side and then the right-hand side, because that seems to make the most sense to me. So here we are. Echo. Echo, do you hear that? Of all those voices rebounding through darkness, the one that wavers and fades, is it yourself, distorted and warped, human? Undeniably so. Echo, you do hear that. All of those rebounding voices through the darkness. That one fades and wavers. It is yourself, warped and distorted. So undeniably human. If you'd like to support my content, don't forget to click like, leave a comment, and of course subscribe and hit the bell icon so you know when a new video has been released. You can also subscribe to my free newsletter on Substack, so you can get more creative writing content delivered straight to your inbox. Until next time, happy reading, happy writing, and take care of yourselves and one another.